Let us pray. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of all of our hearts be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, our God, our strength, and our Redeemer. Amen. So today is St. David's Day. And he is the patron saint of Wales. That's what he's best known as. And so he's a saint that's near and dear to my heart because my family, my grandma on my dad's side, is Mormons. So Welsh blood is part of what makes up who I am. And of course, if you're Welsh, you love all the Welsh hymns like "Guide Me, O Thou Great Redeemer." And I won't go on to list them all. We'll be here probably for another couple of months. But St. David probably wouldn't make a very popular saint today. Because one of the things he's known for was his austerity. Now it's interesting because historically, it's monks and monasteries that have been responsible for the production of beer and wine that we enjoy so much today. That's one of the things. That's where the craft was often perfected, was in the monasteries. But not so in St. David's monasteries, and he established several of them. It was water. And they drank water, and they tended to eat bread and vegetables. And that's not exactly the most inspiring diet that you'll come across. And one that a lot of us wouldn't be comfortable with today. But the interesting thing is we want to just take a brief look at that word austerity. When we hear it today, it's usually used in political terms, and it's used by a government that says, we're going to cut away everything that we don't think is absolutely necessary. And generally speaking, everything that they don't consider absolutely necessary is housing for the homeless, food for the hungry, health care. Those are all things that austerity demands us to get rid of. But St. David's idea of austerity is stripping down the things in our lives that are unnecessary so that we can be of greater benefit to others. Now, I'm not suggesting that everybody start living on bread and water with a little bit of vegetable on the side. But I am suggesting that we all need to take time and say, what is there that I have that sort of clutters up my life? And it may be food. It may be comfort. It's interesting, of course, the trend a couple of years ago was Marie Kondo, and if it doesn't bring you joy, get rid of it. Well, I'm going to suggest that maybe one of the things we should ask ourselves is, if it doesn't help us bring joy to the people around us, and I'm not just talking family, I'm talking to the world around us in general. Maybe that's something we can say, do I really need that in my life? St. David was also known, as a lot of the monastics were, for placing an importance on work. The work of one's hands. Going out and digging in the garden. Turning over the soil. Every monk was expected to do that. That was part of the existence of living in a monastery. It wasn't just sort of abandoning yourself from the physical world to perform spiritual exercises. You had enough of them. I mean, there's all the different prayer times during the course of the day, including, getting up like 4 o'clock in the morning to have a prayer service. But work, interacting with God's creation, was an important emphasis of St. David. Our gospel reading talks about being salt and light. And salt and light are things that are meant to be used not only for our benefit, but for the benefit of the others. We hear that, you don't light a candle and then stick it under a cup. You not only light it, you stick it on a candlestick so it's high, and everybody that comes into that area can be lighted by that light. That's the kind of thing we're called to reflect on during Lent. What does it mean for us to be light? To reflect Christ's light into the world around us. Can people, when they see us, when they observe us, can they see the world around us in a different way? A way that has been made through the light that is Christ. The light of love. Philippians, we get that reading about wanting to know Christ and Christ's sufferings. How they will point us towards being that light. Will allow that light to shine from us to the world around us. And that, in turn, allows us to live out those words in Isaiah, to follow in Christ's example of proclaiming liberty to captives, freedom to those in prison, good news to the poor, binding up hearts that are broken, to proclaim a year of favor from the Lord. That year of favor references the year of Jubilee, that year when things are set right, when those who have been held captive are set free, when those who are in debt are released from their debt, when the land which lies fallow during the Sabbath is allowed to lie fallow because of trust that God will provide. That is the year of God's favor. So there's another thing when we think of the austerity that St. David was known for. Will we strip back those things that we don't need to help our world, including our land and other parts of our physical environment, to heal, to rest? Do we have enough faith in God's provision for us to take steps to help make that happen. So as we reflect today on St. David, it's a time for us to reflect on how we can examine our lives in such a way that we can say, this isn't particularly necessary for me. And I can let that go. And in doing so, help bring joy to others.